And I'll gavel us in. It is 7:03. Welcome to the Mayor and Town Council meeting. Today is Monday, March 24th, 2025. And let us please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a brief moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That moment of silence, please. Thanks, everybody. Okay.
What's going on with that?
So I'll turn to the clerk and/or Joe and ask if we have anyone who has signed up for public comment this time.
We do.
We do. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
And it's for the hearing or it's for the...
well, I was going to make that clarification.
Thank you,
So
sir.
I know there's been several people that have signed up for public comments. If the public comments are about the noise ordinance specifically, we do have a separate public hearing for that. So I'll say if there's anybody that signed up for a public comment, something not related to the noise ordinance, then now would be the opportunity. to
Correct. Thank you. So we do have those individuals, but again, if it is more particular to the noise ordinance public hearing, we'll cover that when we get to it. And so that being said, I do want to remind anyone and everyone that is making public comment this evening that you must limit your comments to 3 minutes, and that time can be extended with a motion by any council member and second by any council member. And welcome to the podium by whoever's first.
I mean, I'm happy to read through the names.
Well, just maybe just.
This gentleman's in there, you want me to go first?
Who is that?
Is this for the noise ordinance?
No,
No.
this is just general public
No.
comments.
Oh, I'm here for the noise ordinance.
Okay. I think everybody's here for the noise ordinance.
Is anybody here to make public comment outside of the noise ordinance? Yes.
Mr.
Please come to the microphone
Wait, did he sign up?
and introduce yourself, and please give us your home address.
I'm Dan Anderson. Hello, everybody.
Hello, Dan.
7411 2nd Avenue.
Thank you.
Thank you for your attention. I know we're kicking off our municipal political campaigns and events today, so I just wanted to come here on record and say I'm really hopeful that this one is not going to get out of control and in the mud with the mudslinging and everything else that can go wrong in a political campaign. Unfortunately, I have my apprehensions about it. I guess probably most of you are aware, like several months ago, we saw surveys coming out randomly, seemingly like looking from the town. When you dive a little deeper, they're clearly not. They're asking all manner of things about politics. How are you feeling about Sykesville? So this is not a sanctioned survey. Okay. You know, the attention goes up. More recently, texts going out saying, hey, we'd like to recruit you. We've identified Sykesville municipality to be the hot campaign, and we really want to back people and all that. Okay. But that's like seemingly some outside influence. That's concerning, right? And now we haven't even kicked off the campaign, and people, and if you do a little digging, people from, believe it or not, a professional political consultant firm called Insider Management Group is going around door to door campaigning. For whom? I guess it'll remain to be seen, but this is what they're saying. Hey, we need you. Only to Republicans, mind you. You know, so in these elections in municipality, you're not supposed to be running a partisan campaign. You don't have a R or a D or an I behind your name, and as it should be. It's a 4,000 person municipality. So we're already gearing up here for a real ugliness when you got professional people that don't live here. This lady, what's her name? Shannon Ledbetter. You know, who's also a council person in Arundel County. She's going door to door in Sykesville saying, we need you to vote only to Republicans. I think if you're running for office here in Sykesville, you should have the decency to go to everybody. 4,000 person municipality. I mean, let's get serious. So I hope the mayor and town council and the ethics commission will quickly come up with some rules of the road so we don't have to have the debrief and the post-mortem and how everything got so out of control. It shouldn't be that way. This is Sykesville, and I'd like to keep it that way. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Anyone else for public comment at this time? Okay, thank you. So we'll call the rest of the people on that list during the public hearing time. Thank you, sir. Okay. Our first order of business is what's called our consent agenda. and that is inclusive this evening of one item, which is our minutes from our March 10, 2025 meeting. I presume everyone has read the minutes, with the exception of our missing council member here this evening, who's usually the one that has his recommendations for edits. Were there any suggestions for edits, Carrie?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so that being said, do we have a motion to approve the minutes from March 10?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Thank you.
I just have one point of discussion, and I missed sending in the comment, but in the closed session, it talks about the attendees that were there, and it didn't include Councilman Keenan as being one of the people that were there, but then later in the document, it says that he was actually voting. So I'm pretty sure you were there, and I just, one little amendment to the actual minutes in reference to just including his participation.
Thank you, Councilman
Thanks.
Stuckfield.
Yeah.
So if you want to amend the,
Motion to approve the consent agenda with said amendment to minutes.
Second.
thank you for both of those motions. All in favor of approval of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Consent agenda is passed unanimously. Our next item on the agenda is one of unfinished business. It is a public hearing and to consider and discuss and perhaps act upon ordinance number 2025-02, amending chapter 76, disturbing the peace, section 76-3, noises of the town code to regulate noise between the hours of 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. I normally make some introductory remarks regarding our agenda items, and but at this time I'm just going to turn everything over to Joe because, and then I'll make my comments ahead of any discussion by the council. I believe that we have some updates and certainly some information and clarification that seems to be needed.
Yeah, so again, just thank you, Mayor, and again, just to kind of reiterate what we discussed at the last meeting. So again, this is a noise ordinance that will regulate certain noises or certain noise levels between the hours of 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. Again, this is to help protect the enjoyment of public property. So again, it's only noises created on public property. It's not going to be enforced or even attempted to be enforced on private property. It does create single-use occurrence, continuous occurrence, and category for special events. So again, as noise levels change within those categories, there's certain distance requirements that have to be met, and then the amount of sound that's being created has to be able to basically drown out what's known as normal conversation. And again, we picked normal conversation because there is a decibel level that's associated with normal conversation, which is 60 decibels. So again, any noise being created has to be so much louder that it would drown out normal conversation. Since introduction, there was a conversation about changing the continuous noise, time limit. So again, as proposed, it was 10 minutes, and then as part of our discussion, that was actually reduced to 5 minutes. So again, the noise would have to be created for a continuous period of 5 minutes before it would become a violation. There was also talk about enforcement and whether or not a written warning would be necessary for this ordinance before an actual citation would be written. We did do some investigating on that and found out that there's actually two other ordinances or two other rules that do require specifically that warnings be issued before a citation. This is not one of them. So it's actually, I think, the curfew law and the helmet rule has to be a warning before a ticket could be issued.
Thank you, Joe, for that clarification.
So again, with those clarifications, we did just want to continue to reiterate that this is not a private property noise regulating ordinance. It is simply only noises generated from public property. And again, the intent is to allow for the peaceful enjoyment of people that are actually in the public, not necessarily on private property. So with all that being said, staff is obviously recommending post-public hearing, recommending adoption tonight.
Thank you, Joe. So I want to bring to the attention of the council, because it was brought to my attention that an email that I received was only sent to me. So I just want to hit some highlights to that email for your edification as well as the public's. So I personally received this email from a town resident who reported having given the proposed ordinance text a once over and still offered concerns about burdening the police with calls to address situations like a car radio playing music loudly in a driveway while the owner washes the car, simply to appease a neighbor, is how that's written. So Joe, just again, then to reiterate, this example would not rise to the level of an infraction or even the need for a call, though if our police are ever called, they always reply to that call. Why would this not be an example of such?
Because it would be noise generated on private property.
Thank you, Joe. I replied to the resident with explanations as to why that example, as well as the rest of the scenarios used to explain why he was not in favor of the ordinance as proposed, were not validated by the proposed text. And with that clarification provided to him, his reply revealed a justified reason why he is not in favor of the noise ordinance amendment. And I'll quote the resident's email here. If you want an ordinance, he's speaking to me, so you is me. If you want an ordinance that protects a group's ability to celebrate, worship, protest in public without dissent or having to compete with louder voices, it's not a noise ordinance in all caps. And he's right. It's not. The council's intention for legislation was to be a narrow and a more specific one related to mechanically amplified noise. That's it. Full stop. I don't believe that anyone participating in a permitted event or practicing their freedom of religion, say a Good Friday reenactment of the Stations of the Cross, which was very common in my small town in the parish in which I grew up, or anyone practicing their right of freedom of expression, should have their First Amendment rights squelched, no matter what words or expressions are being made from amplified noise. And that again is my ask of staff, to come back to the council with perhaps the next meeting or any future meeting with text for an ordinance that meets that ask. Furthermore, should activity within the municipal boundaries of this town fall within the definition of Maryland's statute of criminal law Title 10, crimes against public health, conduct, and sensibilities, specifically section 10-201, which I'm sure our chief of police here is familiar with, disturbing the public peace and disorderly conduct, this council will expect that such an offense will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And I'm sure we can count on that, right, Chief?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. At this time, I will ask for a motion to actually deny ordinance number 2025-02 as written and request staff to address specifically the more narrow goal of limiting the use of mechanical amplification tools or machines on public property unless, as of course, a part of perhaps a permitted event. So that's kind of our angle. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? I'm sorry.
Discussion.
Do we need to discuss that?
So are we just throwing out this text then? Is that what's going on?
That's what's happening, as written. Yeah.
That's right.
So I guess I'm wondering if there are people here to speak on this, if
I will certainly
we
entertain
can
that.
still have that to
Yeah.
go into whatever changes.
I
the
actually still
ordinance.
do want to hear from the public because it'll help to inform.
Right. So can we do that as part before we vote, as part of the discussion?
If you'd like,
or-
we can do that. We'll have to now make a motion to open a public hearing, which I wasn't sure was going to be necessary because we don't actually have a motion for an ordinance. So I think we should vote on this motion on the table and then ask simply for people to come to the microphone to share their comments regarding the ordinance as it's written, the proposed, that now soon to be denied, supposedly. We'll wait and
I'm
see.
lost. Okay.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table. It has been seconded, and we're discussing that motion now, and only that.
Okay. So to deny this,
Correct.
but then we'll move to a public discussion about what was going to be. proposed.
Correct.
Got
Because
it.
I still am very interested in our public's comments.
Yeah, because it
Yeah,
can
and I'm
then
sure everyone is.
inform.
And
yeah,
they took the time to come out tonight, so
Right. important.
I'm
So-
happy to see them.
So is any of the text that we came up with last meeting might be included in this? I mean, I know this is kind of sudden, but like, no warning, 5-minute continuous. I mean, that was one of the things that the first came, it was 10 minutes and a warning, and I believe we talked about having a sanctioned event in downtown that there was no warning, only 5-minute.
I would be open to the language for a very specific use case of amplification. And the way I think about it is that, we don't need a DJ unless there's a permitted event to have a DJ. You don't need someone walking around the streets of Sykesville with a big bullhorn doing whatever they're doing. It would really disrupt what everyone's trying to do and enjoy. I could definitely get on board with no warning for that, and I don't even know if we need the 5-minute thing anymore or not in reference to that.
Yeah, that was the whole the whole point, I thought.
Yeah.
And it was amplified in music. So yeah, somewhere along the line, it got turned into a free speech thing. And we were just trying to curtail the volume.
Well, if I could jump in there, I think the reason why it turned into a free speech thing is because, I don't know, recently, at least over the past year or so, since the Baltimore Sun's been under new ownership, the Carroll County Times as well, of course, has, I guess you would say, otherwise good reporting is being garnished with sensational clickbait variety headlines. And then a person clicks on that and they don't have a subscription to read the article. So the reporting in the article in this particular case was very good. It touched on the actual text of the ordinance. It gave examples that fit the purview of the proposed text. But I have a feeling that most of the people that were making comments and sharing the posts around on Sykesville Online and various other actually partisan type social media platforms hadn't even actually read the article, let alone the ordinance itself. And so I bring that up because it got turned into something that it isn't and was never intended to be. And in fact, if it has anything to do with the First Amendment, it's to protect it from it being squelched by other people's intentions to squelch it. So that's I agree with you, and I think that some verbiage and that language that you guys just agreed to should be considered with the rewrite.
A question for the chief. With this, with this proposal of looking at an amplified device of some sort that would drown out speech, what's the enforcement portion of that your folks would have? Is it the same as what it was before? It's essentially like an infraction. You'd go up, you would engage in conversation, and you could possibly, you could give out a citation.
Correct.
That's what the enforcement would be, correct?
Right.
Okay.
So you can't confiscate anything.
No.
Okay.
Nor can you make it stop even after the enforcement.
Which then it could rise to the level of what I was speaking of earlier,
Potential.
which is the state mandated disorderly conduct.
I see.
Anyone else with any comments or discussion regarding the motion on the table?
Do you think you have enough, Joe, of an idea of what we're kind of looking for to come back with something that's agreeable?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's 100 ways that you can put a noise ordinance together. So this was option one. so it's time to move to option two, and once we have some language ready to propose, we'll bring it before the council.
Yeah, it's kind of like an evolution, right, Joe? Like this started out with staff looking into things based on the amplified noise and the conduct that is associated with that and can be, and then you give an attorney anything, right, Leo, and it gets modified a bit. So that's where we're at. Enough debate. Are we ready to call for a vote? Yep. All right. I'll repeat the motion for the council's edification before calling for that vote. The motion on the table is to deny ordinance 2025-02 as written and request staff to address specifically a more narrow goal of limiting the use of mechanical amplification tools or machines on public property unless as part of a permitted event. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. It is unanimously approved, which is to deny. The motion is approved to deny the ordinance. Thanks, everybody.
So would you like, can I make a motion for public comments, even though we canceled?
Well, you can, because it's not on the agenda as motion as a public comment period, so please do that.
I'll make a motion for public comment for anyone that showed up that wanted their voice to be heard.
Second.
Okay, so first by Councilman Grassley and second by Councilman Keenan. Clerk. Thank you. So first one on the list.
Well, we got to vote.
Oh, of course.
No.
Why is he leaving?
Because he had to get someplace.
Oh, okay. So I guess I talked too long this time, huh? All in favor of bringing comments to the microphone, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Of course not. Here we go.
First, we have Robert and Anna Whitaker.
Okay.
I don't know. It was in reference to freedom of speech, so
Okay.
we're changing it up now.
Very good.
And Rob Willie.
I think he just
Is
left.
that the one that left?
Yeah.
Julie Delamarie.
That's going to be an easy one. Since my name is there, I'm Julie Della Maria. I live at 7411 2nd Avenue, and I'm talking tonight in my quality of a Sykesville resident to thank this council for the effort in reviewing those all aspects of the things that you are working with staff on, and I'm in awe of leadership here and the unity of this council and the leadership of the mayor. So thank you for your hard work and working to give the tool to the police to be able to help and maintain peace and unity in Sykesville. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Del Maria. Anyone else?
That's it.
I rained on everybody's parade. I'm really sorry. Yeah, this is how open government works, so here we are.
I'll make a motion to close the public comment section.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, here we are at our next item of business. Please don't tell me that's the gentleman that had originally left.
No.
Okay.
I spoke to him.
Okay, thank you. All right, that brings us to announcements and reports, and I'll start with those announcements, saying that the next meeting is Monday, April 14th. Holy cow, it's already April 2025. And also announce that we have volunteer opportunities available as a crossing guard on the police auxiliary, and that one final position on all of our commissions combined as a Board of Zoning Appeals Commissioner. If anyone is interested in these positions or volunteering in any way for the town, please email town@sykesville.net. I really was hoping to hear from the gentleman on the far right.
This one.
Yeah,
I wanted to hear,
okay.
I talked to Joe, but I wanted to hear, and then you changed it, and now it's completely.
Null and void.
Right, so.
You just look so brokenhearted, like you're walking on.
I just want to make sure that band night,
Of course,
Friday and Saturday isn't affected.
was never gonna be. You got it, sir.
And now I believe Joe even more.
Okay, fantastic. All right, that brings us to staff updates. Go.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is the last time I'll get to say this before bulk pickup, but bulk pickup is April 12th at, I guess 5 a.m.
Yes.
So have your stuff out, please, the night before. Quick update on Springfield Avenue. I'm sure most of you might have noticed that the milling operation did start, so thankfully that's
Congratulations.
yes.
We said it would happen.
We said it would happen.
That's our period.
Many times. So that's Springfield Avenue. Again, just for the public information, and again, I know I've mentioned this to council already, that some safety fencing is getting ready to go up around the cannery building, if it hasn't already. This is, again, an ongoing process of our evaluation of that building and making sure that it's, let's just say, structurally sound and safe to be around. So again, that's why the fencing is going up. We're getting some additional engineering to look at it, just to make sure that everything as we proceed forward with the potential design for that building is going to be well safe.
Thank you.
So a question in reference to that.
Yes, sir.
Have we, I believe we talked about it in the last meeting or in a meeting not long ago, that there are some potential structural related issues in the building.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's
so then it would probably be a good PSA, because every now and then kids do some vandalism to the different properties that we have. It would be really good if they
Don't go
didn't.
inside the fence.
Don't go inside the fence, and it's more for the kids' safe or anyone's safety than anything else. So we want to deter vandalism, number one, but number two, we also want to make sure that nobody gets hurt. So yeah.
Thanks, Councilman.
Joe,
Thanks.
can I piggyback off of that?
Sure.
So in our budget, we had set aside funding for engineering costs. We still have money left over, so the second opinion
That's correct.
is still in the budget.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. There was a grant that was received. It was a capital grant through the state for the planning for the reuse of that building.
Yep.
And again, there's lots of funding left over in that grant for this.
Just want to make everybody know.
Thank you. It's good to know what's paying what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last item I have is for just the streetscaping. I know we've been waiting to kick off that project. We did sign off on the grading permit for that today. So hopefully within this week, you'll start to see activity on the south end of Main Street. Again, as this project moves forward, the Baldwin parking lot will be closed again for beautification efforts. On the weekends, while that parking lot is closed, we will be opening up the public works yard to allow for some overflow parking up there. Usually that doesn't happen outside of events, but
Right.
because we're closing that one parking lot, we at least want to open up one other area.
And there'll be signage posted for,
There will be signage, yeah.
thank you.
And roughly the time frame that Baldwin will be closed.
That is estimated between 6 and 8 weeks just to do that parking lot and the roadway there. And then they're going to move to Oklahoma, which is an additional 6 to 8 weeks. So again, there's going to be some disruption on that little section of Oklahoma. So,
Thanks.
Jen, so then when could we get another update on what's happening at the station? And kind of the impact of this on that, and if, I mean, we're gonna have a brand new parking garage, and I don't want the construction there to do any parking lot, parking garage. Oh my God. Sorry, I'm tired.
It's just spreading it.
Yeah, but you don't want that destroyed, by.
You can count on the fact that the teams are communicating.
Coordinating,
And the
okay.
beautiful thing is it's not the county and or the state communicating with us
Right. This is
and
a
us with our
town
residents.
project.
It's a town project. We're investing in our infrastructure. We're doing that, and we are in control of how it's happening. So, because that's our property, because the town owns the station, and the tenant is our tenant,
Right.
i.e. the business owner, his team, in partnership with the town, will be able to stay on the same page. And so we won't have any improvements made that are immediately going to be damaged or dug back up because of not forward thinking. So,
Okay.
good,
Thank you.
Good to know.
The only other item that I have is Carrie was going to give an update on elections, just because today was the filing deadline.
Oh, it was?
Today at noon was the filing deadline. We have 2 for mayor. We have Stacy Link and Robert Whitaker. And then for council, we have Mark Carbone, Elizabeth Garoff, Gregory Hilliard, Leo Keenan, and Alexandra Rees.
Thank you. That is the end of staff updates, except, for administrative staff updates? Yes, okay, thank you. That brings us to the public safety report. Chief, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our guests and visitors tonight. We're going to cover the public safety report for the period March 3rd through the 17th. But before I do, as I normally do, there were a few questions that were submitted regarding the public safety report. One was directed at 00025, was regarding whether it was a bank fraud or there was a mention of a bicycle. That was kind of an error in the statute for theft over. It mentions the bicycle in the statute, so it had nothing to do with a bicycle.
It just kind of seemed
Yeah,
weird.
I can see
Money
why.
and a bicycle, I wasn't sure on that one.
That threw you off a little bit, but that had nothing to do with the bicycle. The other one was 00029. It was a situation where some sharp material had been placed under a tire up at Birch Manor. There was a dispute there between some of the employees. And the question was a camera able to pick up anybody putting the material there? Apparently they do not have exterior surveillance cameras, so we did ask, but none available.
Thanks for getting back on.
There's a lot of things they could catch on camera if they would use one.
Cameras are a topic we discuss quite often.
Because I'm going to miss
Yes.
All of these questions on the.
multiple questions. I'm really going to miss that, man.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks.
As you can see from the list of all our events, we had a total of 505. Nothing really that jumps out as anything unusual. In addition to those 505 events, we had 9 incident reports, which I'd be more than happy to answer any questions about if you have it.
I do not.
Just another thank you for the community policing. And I'm seeing they're getting to all the different businesses downtown, which is just fantastic.
They are.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's great.
We'll keep it up.
Is that Officer Bond's,
New initiative.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. He was tasked with trying to find a balance between his incredible enforcement efforts and some community policing, and he's responded favorably.
Yes, he
So,
had.
very happy with
And it's nice because the merchants know him, so
Yeah.
if there's an issue, they know immediately who to contact.
Well, I can assure you, all the motorists know him as well. He was recognized at our recent awards banquet, which I was going to make reference to here in a minute. with having 1,000 traffic stops in 1 year, which is, I think, according to Lieutenant Kilgore, probably a record. So he's out there working very hard to enforce the motor vehicle laws.
Actually, 1,009 months because he was in the academy.
You're right. You're right. He makes it even more incredible. So
I was
you
right.
all beware of Officer Bob.
I got out and did it, but I didn't get out and do it.
Along those lines of traffic enforcement, Chief, I've had some pleasant conversations with several residents as of late, specifically regarding speeding. And two residents on Calorama, the end that becomes a dead end.
Okay.
It's strange to me that someone could pick up so much speed from any point in a dead stop to that stop sign or in the opposite direction. But it's reportedly mostly happening not by people that live there, but by delivery trucks, Amazon and the like. And there's actually new, like young children on that street now, and I think it's become specifically with apparently a couple residents receive a lot of packages on a daily basis, and so the traffic has really increased in that format.
Okay.
So if you could let Officer Bond and the rest know, maybe it's time for a trailer, speed trailer.
We have them deployed currently. I thought one was on.
It was one.
Yeah, I'll double check, but
Okay.
we'll redeploy it to that area and continue with some traffic enforcement as well.
Appreciate you.
Of course.
Are you seeing any positive things by the speed sign that's on Oklahoma? Have you gotten any less complaints? Anything?
I would say kind of negligible. I can't say that we've received any more complaints.
Or anything less? Yeah.
Probably none less either. Can you recall that?
Haven't heard one at all.
It's been a while since we received any complaints, so maybe it has helped.
I don't think it's very expensive to put them up, and it's a great deterrent for me.
Sure.
And I drive, I'm just owning it, right? But it's like I'm very conscientious about it for two reasons. One, the gentleman that I talked to said there's people that drive by here at 35, 40, 50 miles an hour, which is really fast on that one stretch of road.
Sure.
And then whenever I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, 24, calm it down, right?
Sure.
So I don't know if it would help other people or not, but if there's spots like that are around town, it's not super expensive to put them in. So.
Do you download data from that sign?
Not from that sign, from the trailers we do.
Right, yeah, the trailer I do, yeah, okay.
Yeah, which is very helpful to us in targeting the areas where we have more speeding taking place. It helps us to do our targeted enforcement in those areas where maybe just a warning is not necessary. Maybe they need to be stopped by a police officer and either issued a warning or citation.
So out of that same conversation, Chief, and I didn't think of it till the continued conversation, was the talk of speed bumps, but not speed bumps or humps, but is it speed ramps? The ones that are on Second that are really broad.
Those are called speed humps.
Those are humps. Okay, somebody refers to them as something else. So everybody that loves the ones on Second Avenue love them because. Thank you. Thank you.
I was wondering where they were on Second.
They are not on Second Avenue, though many people would like them on Second Avenue. Are the speed humps, right? And they like them even as residents because they're not like such a jarring situation, but they're just enough to slow people down. And the same residents on Calorama that I was speaking to were suggesting that. So. It's a frequent request when we talk about speeding from residents. Everybody either loves them or hates them. But for me, it's always going to be, and I know for everyone at this table and for yourself, sir, it's going to be about safety and protecting the pedestrians. So I think maybe, if it requires a traffic study, maybe a broad one in the future. Maybe something we can kind of put on our radar for specific hot spots.
It does slow people down. Of course, I've heard that some of the residents do not like them because of the fact that a lot of vehicles are low-riding vehicles, and you have the scraping of the undercarriage and the mufflers. And,
Yeah, and so not to interrupt you, Chief, but that came up in this conversation as well. And the point that they were making about the ones on Central are that they do the job without even, like the person I was talking to said his son drives like a low rider. Those are my words.
Sure.
But that it's an extremely low undercarriage of a sports car, and that he can drive over that without it bottoming out. So, I mean, maybe we have a winner in the design of what's out on Central already, but
Then, of course, the issues with plowing snow over
Yeah.
there. We'll have to talk to Derek about that, but
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd be interested in weighing in.
Yeah, there's no hard and fast rule on the speed humps. You know, again, the comments negatively are always about emergency response. It slows even emergency vehicles down. Buses don't like them. Plows. Those are always the comments that we get back in return. But at the end of the day, if it does the job of slowing the traffic down, then
that's the goal.
usually what the residents want.
Yep.
So I don't think necessarily a traffic study would be necessary for something like that. It would almost be like we identify some areas where we think they might be beneficial, and then we just reach out to the neighborhoods and just ask people to give feedback whether or not they want them or not.
Very
Could
good.
I ask a question though? Are there other options? Like I know on First we had talked when my kids were young and people coming out of the nursing home that maybe not the humps, but even more of like a rumble might
strips.
be better and not affect, because we have the ambulances that come down. So
Of course, they're noisy as well
Yeah,
when
you're
you go
gonna
over them.
hate
It's
yeah, but I mean, just are there maybe if there are options that residents could look at as to
There's
like,
portable speed
different
bumps as well
ways
that can
and
be
then see what people in
installed.
that neighborhood would like in
We
there.
move for snowy events.
There's options.
Yeah.
We'd have to consider all of them and figure out what's the best.
Yeah, we could trial a semi-permanent one and see how it goes, and decide after that to install a permanent one if it's called for.
Sounds like a right question for public survey.
It does.
Well, we do have a traffic study coming up with the school zones
School zone.
that we passed, and Central Avenue will be included in that.
It would.
Like
Is it
it's a mile and a half radius?
It's a mile radius.
Yeah.
But it's Central is not only within that measurement, it's also the main thoroughfare for the walkers. So yeah.
Maybe take a look at that data
Yeah.
when it comes out.
For sure.
The only other thing I have is I did want to mention about our awards banquet we had last Friday. I'm very happy to report that we recognized several individuals from the department, both from the sworn and the auxiliary side. Sergeant Mike Schlereth was recognized as the 2024 Officer of the Year for his performance throughout the year. Just a hard worker and does a great job with both the administrative side and the enforcement side. He's truly a leader by example. Sergeant Patty Lacey was recognized as the Supervisor of the Year, Sworn Supervisor of the Year. And we're also putting him in for several other awards. The MML Police Executive Association, as you all know, has an annual Top Cop Award, which we've been fortunate enough to win 2 years ago, to be exact. And we've put Sergeant Lacey in for that as well. And without disclosing anything prematurely, we feel pretty confident that we may be recognized again this year for that award.
If we get 2 out of 3 years,
It'd be pretty incredible.
boy, am I gonna be a big mouth at MML again.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll hold you to that, Mayor.
That's fantastic. You will indeed.
So I'll let you know once it's official. But if Patty's watching, it's pretty close to being official.
That's awesome.
We just haven't told him
That's
yet.
awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce has their annual awards. I think I sent you we put him in for that, the Supervisor of the Year as well. So the auxiliary officers that were recognized was Auxiliary Officer Steve Berry for the Auxiliary Officer of the Year, and Auxiliary Corporal Nydia Diaz for the Auxiliary Supervisor of the Year. So it was a great time, a great event. A lot of people were recognized appropriately, and it's good that we're allowed to do this. And
Chief, it is. And you mentioning the awards to our auxiliary police officers, it brings to mind a question. That was a countywide award ceremony, or that was our award?
that was just ours, internal.
So within the county, besides Sykesville, who else has an auxiliary police department?
Westminster Is it Westminster or they have the
Westminster has
north-
its Auxiliary or Explorer program. The Sheriff's Department, I think, disbanded.
they did away with
They
theirs,
did.
I know that's a fact. So not many others.
There was at a time a North Carroll Auxiliary.
That's right, that's what I was thinking of.
They have said Manchester, but I'm not sure that's active anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. I know that Lieutenant Queen of the Auxiliary Police Department, who's serving us globally these days, I think, has been approached by even Howard County and their Sheriff's Department about our auxiliary program. So it is certainly one to be emulated.
It's become a model.
And I mean, what does it do for our recruitment, right? Like for our police. Yeah. So,
We're very fortunate.
yeah, me too.
Anything else?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Chief. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. That brings us to our council and/or commission liaison reports. I'll start with
Let's start on that end first.
So
Jeremiah.
the next planning commission's on April 7th. And then I made a comment earlier, and I got it in the news last time that I spoke, so I want to clear it up a little bit. So I mentioned a DJ, and that's sort of the amplification piece of things. But I am highly supportive of our Friday night bands that are in our community. I think it's absolutely wonderful and love going to them and driving by them and all of that. It is an absolute pleasure of mine. So, at any rate, I just wanted to clear up the record there.
Thank you, sir. And nothing for the planning commission?
Nothing for because we talked about it last time.
Yep, very good. Thank you.
I have nothing.
Thank you.
Parks and Rec, next meeting is this Thursday, and park cleanup is April 12th for any residents who want to help clean up our parks.
Thank you. And before I move further to the right, this Post-it note almost got lost. I just wanted to make everyone here at the council aware that Councilman Dyer's mother passed away last evening in her sleep. And he's still with her and obviously planning all of the making all the necessary arrangements. And he'll be back with us in April.
Thank you.
Okay. And I'm sure we'll...
Get some flowers on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Bad news right before I got to report, Mayor.
Well, that can't be any worse then.
HDC meets Wednesday night. We have 4 considerations: 2 replacement gutters, 1 replacement shed, and 1 new hanging sign.
Thank you.
And DSC got a bunch. The Green Committee held its spring planning session on March 19th at the Bistro, bringing together volunteers and staff. The group developed upcoming programming and outlined plans for seasonal garden cleanups and new plantings throughout downtown. The Design Committee reopened its Hometown Veteran Banner program, which has been a big hit. Details can be found on the Design Committee webpage of our website under About Us and then Committees. The DSC staff attended a mandatory Maryland Main Street training on March 19th, hosted by Maryland Nonprofits. The session was titled Main Streets Are for Everyone, Leadership Mindset for Community Representation, Inclusion, and Mobilizing Relationships for Good, focused on fostering inclusive leadership, enhancing community representation, and building meaningful, mission-aligned relationships. The DSC also had its annual board retreat on March 15th, where members engaged in a SWOT analysis and began strategic planning for the upcoming fiscal year. Events, June events are all in their planning stages with a new addition inspired by Mayor Link, and you may want to talk about this a little more because I know nothing about this yet. The Unity Float Showdown. What do you want to say about that?
I would love to talk about that. So it's been a pipe dream of mine for quite some time that we would afford the opportunity to neighborhoods to have a friendly competition with respect to their opportunity to have a float, build and or create some sort of wonderful display of their neighborhood unity and be part of Let Freedom Ring Parade. So that's going to happen, and I think
Mayor,
we're going to
how are
spice it.
neighborhoods determined?
Oh, that's interesting. By the neighborhood themselves.
Huh?
Right? I mean, like, you're either part of a neighborhood.
I'm just kind of curious.
You either think you're part of a neighborhood or you don't know there's one that exists around you. So, like, hopefully this will actually increase the awareness that you're part of a neighborhood, right? And it'll be a group effort.
So our 4 houses on 5 houses
That-
on
no,
First
I
were
think
strong?
First and Second and Central is a neighborhood.
Okay, I was just curious where we.
That's how
ranked
I
it.
would define Old Town.
I'm good.
All right.
So these are all neighborhood floats designed to be part of the
Fourth of July
Fourth of
parade,
July parade.
but commonly known as and more.
Let freedom ring.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.
So that's it for DSC, but I would like to talk on a separate matter briefly,
Okay.
if I may.
You may.
As most of you know, I've been involved in a ton of elections over the years.
One way to put it.
The last mayoral election 4 years ago, I spoke up, and I want to speak up again. We are a nonpartisan town council. No Republican, no Democrat. It was not pretty last election, and I do not, as Mr. Anderson said, I do not want to see that happen again. We serve the residents, the businesses, and represent them, and that's all we do. I've described it before as we're basically an HOA with a police force. We don't decide healthcare, we don't decide immigration, we don't even get involved in the county school issues. That's not for us. We're just here to represent the businesses and the residents, and I hope this election goes much better than the last one. And then, as Mr. Anderson also mentioned, I am very disturbed at the outside political action committee. I actually have copies, if anybody wants them, of the handout that was given to just specific people, but it does highlight Republican voters. Again, we don't have in these town elections Republican voters or Democrat voters. We just have residents, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Thank you, Leo. And I'll piggyback on that. I actually love the fact that I'm not alone in what I'm about to say. I guess I'm not speaking for everyone here at this table, but I can speak on behalf of many of our residents, because this has been expressed to me, that Sykesville has really carved out an enclave where we can, as neighbors, help one another. Have signs for our candidates in our lawns without it becoming a divisive tool for shoveling our neighbors' snow, and then not doing it because they supported a different candidate for town council. And I would love, 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 love for that to continue. And I would thank anyone ahead of time if we can keep that feeling. There is too much crap in all of our lives. I've got federal workers sitting here at this table who have been at the receiving end of things that don't affect us here in our decisions, because nothing at that level has anything to do with the things that we're deciding on. We can love our neighbors, and we can support our fellow council member who's on the receiving end of that kind of stuff. And I don't know, and I don't care who's a Republican or who's a Democrat. I will be knocking on everybody's door, and I will not be asking them their party. That's it for me.
Thank you.
All right, are there any more comments for the good of the order before adjournment? Hearing none, may I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Ooh, I'm giving that to President Carter.
Give it to the
Gets that one.
president over here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. We are adjourned at 7:51. If that clock is now right?
Yes.
All right,
Thank you, everyone, for coming out.
thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Come again. We have plenty of space.
Yes, there were empty seats.